Hi, my name is Eric Dillon. I am the Senior Instructor with the JSOG Training Center in Fresno, California. And today we're going to talk about superheat. The first thing we want to talk about is some of you may be thinking, I already know how to do superheat, right? Because I use these. And that's fine and dandy, but what happens when these fail you? Or if some of you might be doing some refrigeration eventually, and you need to understand what superheat is. So that's what we're going to get into first, is what exactly is superheat and how do we do it? Except we're not going to use these. We're going to use these. So first we want to talk about the temperature-pressure relationship of refrigerant. All the refrigerants that we use in our industry, whether it be air conditioning or refrigeration, have a temperature-pressure relationship, meaning that as the pressure goes up, so does the temperature. As the pressure goes down, so does the temperature, and vice versa. If it's temperature that we're affecting, then the pressure will equalize. This is important to understand because when refrigerant is gaining latent heat, it's changing state. And once in the evaporator side, since we're talking about superheat, once it completely changes to vapor, it is classified as saturated. That's its saturation point. And so any heat that we gain above that, sensible heat that we gain above that saturation point, is our superheat number. Okay, so when we start talking about the temperature-pressure relationship, we have these handy little charts that a lot of us use, and I recommend you do have one. You keep one available. But for today's purposes, we happen to have a set of analog gauges that actually have the 410A refrigerant that we're using in this unit built in to the gauge, and that would be that pink circle. And obviously there's multiple refrigerants. The inner orange circle there is for 404A, and the outer circle is going to be for, I believe, R22 on this one. But you can utilize this analog gauge with the appropriate refrigerant on there and not necessarily need these separate temperature pressure charts. Although again, it's like I said, I highly recommend you keep these, you have them available, because you never know what kind of refrigerant you're going to encounter. There are a few odd ducks out there once in a while, and you want to be prepared. So there may be those times when you may not know what your target superheat is. In that case, you need to get one of these superheat calculators and learn how to use them. And we may do that in a later video somewhere down the road. But for all intents and purposes, if you're putting in newer equipment or you have access to the book, we have internet access in most cases, you can find what that manufacturer wants for the target superheat. And once you have that number, then it's easy. It's just a matter of getting things measured properly and dialing it in. Okay, so today we're going to be working on this package unit here. Please note that I've already connected the gauges because, I don't like to show the de minimis release when I connect on video. But we are going to be using a K-type connector here. This is a clamp-on. It's the same brand as the meter. But you can get these. If you don't have a meter that's equipped like this, you can buy other types of good temperature reading devices, thermometers. You want to make sure it's digital, and I highly recommend this type of clamp-on. And our proper connection today, since we're reading superheat, is going to be between our evaporator and our condenser. If this is a split system, you're going to probably take that at the condenser. This is obviously a package unit, so we're just going to clamp it in where it comes out of the evaporator, but before it goes into the compressor, just like this here. And then we're going to go ahead and set our meter to temperature and let it give us a temperature. And our next step is I'm going to start this unit up. So we've got everything connected. We're now getting our readings. And so when we look at this gauge at our current suction pressure, I'm going to switch eyes real quick. We're showing about 36 degrees, and this is showing our temperature pressure chart reading, which is our saturation temperature. So at 36 degrees, and when we compare it to our actual reading, we're showing it's bouncing up and down because I just started it, so it's fluctuating a little bit. But right now we're showing about 56, so we're showing about 20 degrees of superheat, which is way too much, way too much. But rest assured, we're in one of our labs right now. It's very cold in here, and we really shouldn't be running air conditioning, so it's not a good example of a reading, but we're more concerned about with understanding the proper methods. Once we reach once we're able to get this reading, we can refer back to our manufacturer's specs, or if you need to go to that superheat calculator and figure out what our target is, right? And we can adjust our charge. And in some cases, you may need to adjust your TXV if it's adjustable, so that we can get to that target superheat, and that's how we know that the system is operating at its optimum level of performance. Okay, so just to recap and maybe even offer a different explanation, when we take a pressure reading on our low side, right, there is that pressure is convertible to a temperature based on our temperature-pressure relationship, or one of these cards, or on the gauge itself. It's important to understand that that's a constant. That's our saturation temperature based on our pressure, right? In this case, what we just showed you was our pressure transferred to a temperature. And then we took a physical temperature reading. We subtract the saturation point from the physical temperature because we've heated that refrigerant beyond the saturation point. So if we take that physical temperature and we minus the temperature-pressure relationship chart, or whatever our saturation temperature is, that gives us our superheat number. So I'm hoping that helps clarify this and simplify it for you a little bit. Come back and join us later when we're going to do a similar video for subcooling. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully this gives you a little bit better understanding of superheat and how we apply it, how we measure it. For this and any other training needs, don't be afraid to come see us or look us up at the JSOG Training Center in Fresno, California, where we provide you with real-world experience for your real-world career.